I'm sure some of you are looking at the title and you're thinking, wait, Dark Carnival was rushed? Dark Carnival is pretty much like every other campaign in the game. It's 5 maps, ends with the holdout finale, and it's usually known for its really iconic set piece with the finale and the Midnight Riders. It even has its own music tracks that play during the finale, which is actually kind of cool though, looking back. Now, despite the title implying that, you know, Dark Carnival is a bad campaign or anything like that, I actually don't hate it, but I do think it was rushed in certain aspects, and you can actually know through the game's whole development that Left 4 Dead 2 came out less than a year compared to Left 4 Dead 1, so the game on its own had a very fast development cycle, so cuts are bound to happen. But for Dark Carnival specifically, you can tell by the game's data that there was actually quite a bit of things that were cut. So this isn't me dunking on the campaign, although I do think it's a little overrated in some aspects. Some people think it's like one of the best in the game. I just think it's a good campaign, that's all. But I do also think there could have been better set pieces, and there's the references even in the campaign's own poster where there's implications of people thinking, gee, why is there like set pieces here that are not actually in the campaign? Alright, thank you for watching and make sure to subscribe. And a lot of times these set pieces that are in the maps are references to aspects you're going to see in future levels. And yet here we are on map 4, it takes place on a barn level. If you no-clip over there, there's actually a part of the map that looks a little more fully designed, but it's infected only. And a lot of people theorize that maybe in the original version of Dark Carnival, you would actually go to the Ferris wheel that is in the back. But unfortunately, because of the cuts that people speculate were made, the Ferris wheel was made into a skybox element and you couldn't actually go to it. And they had to make the level a lot smaller and make it into essentially what it is now. There's even people that theorize that Dark Carnival was originally 4 maps long. And there's actually some proof. I actually kind of believe this theory as well, because if you look in the code of Left 4 Dead 2, some of the characters have voice lines that reference C2 and then map 4. That is supposed to reference the map certain voice lines actually appear in the game. So if you look in where Dark Carnival section for a lot of characters, the amount of maps that go up for Dark Carnival section actually goes up to 4 for some of the characters, and it doesn't go up to 5, which some people actually speculate that this is because Dark Carnival was originally going to be a 4-map campaign, and possibly the beginning of the barns was going to be the beginning of the map for the finale. And this actually makes a lot of sense because the safe room is actually really close to the beginning of the level in map 4. A lot of people think the barn section was made later and was simply just like an add-on that they had to kind of figure out to fill out the level, because the safe room is an eye distance from a certain part of the level, so a lot of people think this could have been the beginning of what could have been the actual finale for Dark Carnival, and then eventually it would go to the actual set piece of the campaign, which is the, you know, pretty iconic Midnight Riders finale. The actual proof to this though is if you go in the voice lines, there's actually references to aspects of the older iterations of this map. So for example, the survivors will reference hitting the lights or hitting the firecrackers, and even using these firecracker elements to try to signal for a rescue vehicle. You'll see Dark Carnival Remix actually re-adds a lot of these things that are referenced in these maps. This isn't technically what we actually know is going to be in Dark Carnival for sure, but these were ideas that were far enough in development that the voice actors were saying them and bringing them up. For example, Coach mentions there's a monorail, or Ellis and Rochelle and Coach will also mention hitting fireworks to start the finale to try to gain attention from a rescue vehicle. These are pretty much all the lines here that imply these things were changed.
We got to get into the stadium. Let's get into the stadium. How the hell are we gonna get in there? There's the Peach Bowl. I hear something going on in there. If we can get on the monorail, we can jump the fence. We need to get on the monorail, through the farm exhibits, through the farm hall, over the roof, onto the monorail. Everybody go, 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 onto the monorail. Jump over that fence, into the dumpster. Rochelle, you gotta find another window. This here's in the men's room. There's the stage. Turn it up! We need to amp it up! Set off the fireworks! Hit the flashbangs! Hit the flash pots! Flip the switch! Turn on the lights! More lights! Hit the spotlights! Louder! More! More! We need more! Rock it out! Woo! Midnight Riders, rule! I love you, Midnight Riders! I love this song! I love all these notes. Hit it, let loose. Start the finale. Start the tape. Cue the finale. Turn on the lights. Come on, Midnight Riders. This music is great. I forgot how much I like this song. They nailed this damn song. I ain't normally a rock music man, but damn, I love the Riders. Set off the fireworks. Hit the flashbangs. Hit the flash pots. Flip the switch. Turn on the lights. More lights. Hit the spotlights. Louder. More. More. We need more. Rock it out. I love you, Midnight Riders. I love this music. I love all these notes. Hit it. Let it loose. Let loose. Start the finale. Start the tape. Come on, Midnight Riders. This music is great. I forgot how much I like this song. They nailed this damn song. I ain't normally a rock music man, but damn, I love the Riders. Turn it up. I love this part. The chopper sauce. The chopper's coming. The Midnight Riders saved us. All right, Midnight Riders. It's working. I'll be damned. Even I didn't think that was gonna happen. I'll be damned. Even I didn't think that was gonna work. Kill the tank so he can land. We gotta kill the tank before he lands. You heard the man. Kill the tanks. The chopper sauce. The chopper's coming. All right, Midnight Riders. It's working. I'll be damned. Even I didn't think that was gonna work. Kill the tank so he can land. You heard the man. Kill the tank. We gotta kill the tank before he lands.
A Midnight Rider show ain't about the music, Nick. It's about the explosions. Man, that don't matter. I can never hear the music over the pyrotechnics anyway. Lots of bands lip sync. Ain't nothing wrong with saving your vocal cords for the studio. Ooh, here's a tape deck marked finale. Do you think this button marked finale will do anything? When I hit this tape deck, it's all gonna start. Get ready, guys. Okay, queuing up the finale. Everybody get ready. Set off the fireworks. Hey, launch the fireworks. Hit the flashbangs. Flip the switch. Turn on the lights. More lights. Hit the spotlights, baby. Hit the flash pots. Hit the flashbangs. More, baby. We need more. Keep it up. Keep it up. The chopper pilot has got to see this. Hit it. Keep hitting this. Keep setting it off. Hit everything. We need to crank this shit up, baby. Rock and roll. The chopper sauce. The chopper's coming. See? The Midnight Riders music saves lives. Thank you, Midnight Riders. Thank you, Whispering Oaks, and good night. You have been a great audience. It's working. Kill the tank so he can land. He can't land till we kill the tank. He ain't gonna land till the tank is dead, man. Kill the tank. Just like the music video.
When I hit this tape deck, it's all gonna start. Get ready, guys. Okay, starting up the old guy music. Everybody get ready. Coach, promise me you won't start air guitaring again. Get ready. I'm gonna start the finale. Turn this old man music up. Turn this crap up. Set off the fireworks. Launch the fireworks. Hit the flashbangs. Flip the switch. Turn on the lights. More lights. Hit the spotlights. Hit the flash pots. More. We need more. Keep it up. Keep it up. The chopper pilot has gotta see this. Try the flashbangs. Hit it. Keep hitting this. Keep setting it off. Hit everything. Woo! Yes! There's the chopper! There's the chopper! It worked! The chopper is here! I think the chopper pilot wants us to turn it down. He sees us! Okay, I cannot believe this worked. The chopper's here. I can't believe this worked. Coach, you are the smartest man alive. It worked! God bless your bad taste in music, Coach. Coach's crazy idea worked. Yeah, Coach's crazy idea worked! Kill the tank so the chopper can land. We have to kill the tank before he lands. Kill the tank!
Hit the flashbangs. Hit the cannons. Hit the effects. Someone needs to hit the lights. Run up to the lights. We have to hit the lights. Keep moving. I hope that's enough. Last one. We got it. Over there. Get it. Hit it. Gates open. There's the bus. There's the tour bus. Get into the garage. Get to the garage. He kept his word. Let's go. Into the garage. Garage is open. Let's go. Just go. Just go. He isn't coming with us. Goodbye, my hippie friend. Goodbye, Mr. Hippie. Maybe people are still alive in the stadium. Looks like the H in 4-H stands for hell. Through these pens. More pens. Cow pen, pig pen, these are all just animal shit pens. Dead end again. A ladder. A ladder. Let's try this ladder. Careful on these roofs. We can jump to the monorail tracks. Get on the monorail tracks. Let's use the monorail to get over that fence. Get back up here. Gotta get back up there. Climb the ladder. Jump down on this side. Jump towards the stadium. Up the scaffolding. We can climb this scaffolding. Into the window. Jump into the John. We're inside. Anyone have any ideas? Somebody's in the control room. What? Hey, let us in. Open up. Don't make us shoot our way into the control room. Come on, open the freaking door. Open the door now. You can drive. We'll all ride shotgun. Come on, man. Help us. Are you gonna help us or not? What are you, an unfriendly hippie? I thought y'all had to be friendly. Is there any way I can talk you into helping us here? Okay, look, maybe we can help you. Right? Ellis here is a mechanic. No one else is alive here, okay? There's got to be some kind of deal we can work out. Just name it. Anything. I am going to regret saying this, but sure. What do you need? Okay, that's a start. What do you need? I got a bad feeling about this. Why don't you just call for help now? Okay, we'll set off the pyrotechnics, but I am telling you right now, I am not going to air guitar. Okay, fine. We'll put on the finale light show. Okay, we'll do it. Sure. Why in the hell not? Yes, we'll do it. Wow. That's really cool. I'm sure Dusty will be honored. I bet he's got a working shower in there, and he's not even using it. Always a stinking hippie. I swear to God, it always comes back to making a stinking hippie happy. I don't think we have a choice. There better be gas in that tour bus. For once, I wish we would have just stumbled onto some cops. Okay. Final evacuation is in the stadium.
For Nick, he's the only survivor where I feel like they recorded his lines really early in the game's development cycle because he has development lines referencing a hippie character. He has many lines arguing with this character that is not in the game at all. These actually are seen here. I think these are actually really interesting lines because they show how Nick is he's totally tired of everything up until the whole point of the campaign. He wants it to be over. It's kind of sad that these go unused, and I think the performance from Nick's voice actor is actually really good. And Nick is actually the only character that has lines with so-called hippie character. People actually think the rescue vehicle was changed multiple times. The whole helicopter aspect was most likely changed last minute because for one reason, there's actually references in the game's code that there was going to be a bus that was potentially going to pick up the survivors. And this might explain why there's infected only areas in map 5 that actually kind of look like maybe a bus depot would be in there, or maybe a bus would pick them up in that area. Another more obvious one is the fact Swamp Fever map 1 literally begins with the survivors in a train car. So a lot of people speculate that the finale was actually going to feature a train instead of a helicopter. The helicopter apparently was a very last minute change, and you can tell because Swamp Fever map 1 has the helicopter sort of put outside of the map, and if you no clip out of the map, you'll notice it's literally just the No Mercy chopper. It's a reused asset from Crash Course that is essentially just in the background of map 1 of Swamp Fever. It would make more sense if it was actually a train car, and this is obviously referenced throughout some of the cut lines, like Coach mentioning that there was a monorail originally going to be in the campaign, and this is also shown in Dark Carnival Remix. There's even cut areas that you can see in pre-release footage for Dark Carnival, like for example, certain rooms and sections that were actually cut out of the campaign pretty late in development. One of the things that I noticed though as a level designer myself, as I have made Whispers a winner, yes, new campaign coming soon, so make sure you guys check that campaign out when it drops, Paradise of Doom. But if as a level designer, one of the things you'll notice is Dark Carnival takes place in a lot of the back alley aspects of what a concert would be is actually based off of real life locations that are actually featured here. And the campaign actually takes place in areas of the concert that are actually more of the back behind the scenes areas that you wouldn't normally see. But a lot of people speculate this was probably chosen because these areas are a lot easier to develop than obviously making a set piece behind a Ferris wheel. Like for example, what technically was done to map 4. So a lot of people speculate that map 4 and the changes done to that map specifically, as yeah, it is also one of the hardest maps in the game. People commonly complain about it, but people think the barn section was chosen very last minute in order to make the level longer and have another set piece that they could go through that was easier to develop than a Ferris wheel. Because why reference an area, especially on the campaign's poster, that is so upfront and yet it's not even used in the campaign except for a part of the skybox, which is really weird. It implies that they had to have thought about it at least as a design point at some point in development. And I personally thought it was weird that barns as a set piece for the campaign, and it's supposed to be, you know, like we're leading into the more concert elements of the campaign. It could have been maybe a little bit more, I don't know, fantastical or have a better idea for making a map, because a barns area is pretty boring. So my theory of map 4 potentially being the actual beginning of what would have been the finale maybe holds a little bit more weight when you notice that the levels are actually really close to each other. If you cut that area out, you just straight up lead to the finale instead of going all the way around like you do in the final version of the campaign. So that's why some people actually think Dark Carnival was a 4-map campaign instead of a 5-map campaign, and probably later in development they ended up making that change and cutting things back. During the panic event, the infected only areas actually have some pretty well defined and developed areas that are infected only, and yet the survivors don't ever see these parts. Like there's some tents that have decals on them, and this type of stuff is usually not done for infected only areas because a lot of that stuff is, you know, going to be dark and lack a lot of detail. But yet for some reason this map kind of has that type of stuff. I always think that's weird because official maps usually don't do that. They don't add extra things in areas that survivors are not going to see most of the time. So this is why a lot of people think Dark Carnival was rushed, because the survivors literally have plenty of voice lines that actually reference aspects of the campaign that was completely different. Like for example, the monorail that I brought up, or the weird aspect of map 4's voice lines being technically what would be the finale's voice lines for some of the characters, and Nick obviously having voice lines referencing a completely different character that didn't make the cut. Dark Carnival Remix tries to reimagine a lot of these ideas, and I think that campaign is a really good choice if you want to sort of relive some of these ideas. It's not to say Dark Carnival Remix is like a one-to-one beta recreation. It's sort of doing its own spin on a lot of things, but it does have a Ferris wheel set piece as one of its maps, which I think is really cool because, again, like I said, a lot of people speculate that this Ferris wheel idea was cut out, considering Left 4 Dead 2 was made less than a year after Left 4 Dead 1. Another aspect that people commonly complain about with the campaign is its overall design. This is maybe a little bit more opinionated, but I do have some facts to sort of back this up as a level design obsessed person like myself. There is some weird quirks for Dark Carnival as a campaign, especially on its finale. I think its finale is actually one of the probably worst designed finale events or even holdout events in the game because it is really hard for infected to really make moves on the survivors on this finale because there is just not a lot of areas for them to spawn. It is a really wide open map and the survivors have tier 2 weapons that most likely are probably going to be snipers at this point, and it's really wide and the survivors can stand all the way at the upper part of the stands and be at a complete advantage because a lot of times the infected don't have areas where they can spawn, and if the survivors are smart they can just stand near the areas where the infected can actually spawn. So this ends up them having to spawn really far away, and this can be really a big issue for balance because it makes the finale a cakewalk a lot of times. I mean, don't even get me started on the fact there's fireworks everywhere, there's gas cans, there's a lot of items here that they even had to tone down these things in updates because yeah, Dark Carnival did actually get a pretty big update to its level design, which usually doesn't happen unless the map really needs it. So Dark Carnival Map 5 is one of the exceptions here, as they did give an update to the map to try to make it easier for infected because there was a lot of bugs with this map. Some of you might remember there was a really infamous exploit for the survivors. If you just stood on this plank right here, this piece of plywood, and you just basically jumped on this forklift and jumped on the plywood, you basically could complete the map really easy because you were basically standing on a god spot that didn't have nav correctly nabbed onto it. Really takes like 2 seconds to fix. If you know how to map, it's really easy to do. This glitch was like really well known for years and they did patch it, but this was one of the easy and like well-known glitches for this finale, as it essentially would skip the phases of the map because zombies can't find you. So let me know in the comments if you remember this exploit. It was really well known. But even outside of this bug, the map was really easy, and to be honest, it kind of still is easy to this very day. It was a lot worse in the earlier updates of the game. Some of you might remember this, but the best camping spot on this map, and I'll give you a second to think, it actually wasn't where you think it is. It was on the corner of the map on the upper part of the stands. It was the easiest camping point. Literally everybody on Versus or even campaign mode would camp there. The zombies don't have a lot of spawn points. There's not a lot of locations where they can actually gain advantage and swarm the survivors because they have to spawn so far away. So if you just stand on the stands on the upper part of it where they have to basically climb their way up and make their way to you, you can essentially pick them off while they're running towards you. Well, this was actually the easiest spot in the game in my opinion as far as like camping on a finale because yeah, you just hold out here and that's it. You have the most amount of items in the game and you have tier 2s at this point. So when they made this complete rebrand of the finale of Dark Carnival, one of the things they did is they completely nerfed this spot and the other spot on the other corner of the map that also had a similar setup. And they made it so the infected could actually spawn near them, try to attack them from other angles, which was such a like infamous nerf of this area. Is they even took away the railings at the upper part of it because now chargers can actually charge people off or jockeys can take people. This was actually not an aspect that you could even attempt in the past, so this was a really big nerf to this area. But despite this, I still think this map is really easy. Oh, okay, you nerfed like 2 of the more popular spots. There was still plenty of other spots to this very day that are really easy to camp at. I think the ladder camping spot that a lot of people go to is really easy to camp at because the railing is actually a big help for the survivors. So if you try to smoke them down, they're just going to hug the railing. And a lot of times the survivors actually can hold out in certain areas where the infected can spawn. That problem that existed in the older update of the map is still a big part of the map's issues to this day, in my opinion. Like for example, I don't know if you guys know, the skybox is so low to the point that a lot of infected can't spawn on the roof that is very obviously placed above the map. This would be a really really easy spawn location. Just add a way for the infected to spawn on the roof and maybe have a hole there where they can fall down. But no, this aspect is technically completely sealed off by the skybox. And that's why a lot of times if a hunter actually tries to pounce from the upper part of the map, they literally can't do it because the skybox is so low. Yes, I know nerdy stuff like like that, but trust me, I've seen it. And also these survivors can see with a lot of the infected spawn on the upper buildings, so they can literally snipe them as they spawn. It's not good design in my opinion, and that's partly why I also think this campaign and this map specifically was rushed near the end, because these sort of aspects would have been figured out in development, but they probably just didn't have enough time to fix them because, you know, less than a year release, guys, come on. It's still an issue for other maps, like Dead Air Map 5, for example, has a very similar problem. It's also kind of funny that Map 4 is technically way harder for the survivors, but the actual finale of the campaign is such a cakewalk. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it is what it is. But I will say there is some pretty iconic aspects of Dark Carnival despite these things being cut out. I think a lot of the aspects of the map that they're trying to do, the best parts of it are good. It's just really some of the nitty-gritty parts that I think these maps sort of miss along the way because they were kind of cut out and made short. The Barns aspect of the campaign I think is the weaker aspect of the whole campaign, and to actually look at the way the map is actually built, you can kind of imply that maybe this was a last-minute addition. That's probably why the Ferris wheel idea might have been cut. There even has been interviews with some of the developers behind Dark Carnival, and they've actually come out and said that, yeah, there was actually ideas that did not make the cut. And yeah, it's pretty obvious once you look at the survivors' voice lines, the fact that the survivors are referencing areas that did not make it in the final game. And a lot of the other campaigns in the game don't have the same flaws. Like the Parish, you can tell that they thought out the whole campaign's ideas pretty early in development because a lot of survivors are not referencing things that didn't make that campaign. Even Swamp Fever doesn't have that problem because, again, it was probably made really early on, while campaigns like Dead Center or Dark Carnival, which are implied to be made a lot later in development, if you look at the code and the way the voice lines are formatted, these aspects were probably cut down significantly in the later half of development. Even the passing has a lot of aspects that were cut out of it. If you look at the way the voice lines are formatted, there's actually a lot of scrap voice lines for that campaign specifically. And I could definitely do a whole video on that as well, so let me know down below if you guys want to see that. I actually remembered something that was very important to the video that I wanted to include. A lot of these questions that people have about Dark Carnival are actually answered on a Reddit thread called The Information on Dark Carnival's Development from Valve, and this thread was made by Left 4 Dead 2 and F, who actually made the Dark Carnival Remix campaign, and you guys should definitely check out the thread and also check out Dark Carnival Remix if you haven't seen that campaign or played it. Essentially, a lot of the questions that I displayed in this video are not only answered, there's even more information that I think you guys are gonna like, so make sure to stay tuned and keep watching the video. This is where it gets good. And again, shoutouts to NF for asking these questions and getting them answered. So was Dark Carnival inspired by any real life locations? The first Valve dev in this interview actually said, yes, there was actually 2 of us who worked on the fairgrounds portion of the campaign. I designed from the entrance up until the roller coaster, and then Valve Dev 2 designed from the roller coaster until the end. The third dev also took over the map from the Tunnel of Love section to the end of the roller coaster, and that's when we split the maps. So I can only speak on my part of the inspiration up until the roller coaster, but I reference the Evergreen State Fairgrounds in Monroe, Washington. This is a short drive from Valve, and an artist myself went there while it was not open, and we went to the fairgrounds to take reference photos. This was mainly for the kinds of buildings and structures they have at the fairgrounds, but not much for the rides. I also referenced the Kings Island in Ohio, where I grew up, for a lot of the rides and organizations of the carnival games, but it was a very loose reference. The second Valve dev said that the roller coaster was inspired by the Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and the stage was inspired by the Puyallup Fairgrounds in Washington. The next question is, in the files I found the models for the monorail different from the one in the game, and the voice lines where Coach and Nick talk about jumping on it. Was this the original plan? The monorail wasn't really a monorail, but more of a people mover in Disney World, and I think the monorail would have been too permanent of a structure, and you can see an elevated ride in Kittyland that was more of what we had in mind. And I think the original thought was you could actually go up and run up and down along the tracks to jump over the fence, but it was changed to the rooftops and down the slide because we're going to have you on the track of the roller coaster later. The second dev stated I wanted to do a walk along the monorail track after the rooftop jumps, but the map was getting too big at that point. end. The next question being, similarly, I read some more about how the finale was set to be on a train, akin of more of a county fair type of setting. I also found some of the voice lines where Nick is arguing with a hippie. Do you remember anything about this? The first dev mentioned the original finale was supposed to be the train. You can actually see you arrive in a train boxcar at the beginning of Swamp Fever, but I think we felt it didn't feel like it really tied into the carnival's type of setting, and Valve Dev 2 wanted to do the concert. And if I remember correctly, there was supposed to be a guy in the concert area who was going to help you with the stage lights and sound. He was going to be up in the audience area in the back, and you'd have to ask him to be your tech crew. It was later changed to turn it on yourselves, and I think this was the hippie in the script. The second dev says that the stage finale originally had you move about the stadium to switch banks in the bleachers, but we cut it back just to defending the stage. I wanted to keep the players moving rather than sticking to the stage, and I eventually pulled this off by placing items around the arena. This might have been when the tech guy was written, but I'm not sure. The train departure was cut in favor of the helicopter rescue from the stadium. As far as I can remember, the train rescue was going to involve a train showing up behind a fence and the team jumping on when it arrived. It was tougher to pull this off from the stage because we wanted to keep the experience more contained. Much easier to make a chopper fly over the walls that kept you inside the stadium. The next question being, this is a bit of speculation on my part, but were all the campaigns in the game originally slated to be 4 maps instead of 5? It's known that the Parish map 1 and 2 were originally merged, and in some circumstantial evidence, Hard Rain was originally 4 maps. Typically, we plot each campaign based on what we want to include and try to keep it around the same length each time, but as the development progressed, we test more and more, and we found that the maps need to be split, or maybe another mini finale is added. Hard Rain was quite different since the goal was to come back to the same place with different terrain. There was a part after the roller coaster that Valve Dev 2 built before the end of the level, but when we found people almost dead right after the roller coaster, so we just decided to cut it so the exit was right there. And I think it was just more track of carnival tents and fairgrounds though, not another ride or attraction. And then the final question he asked, did Valve have any plans to do anything more with the Midnight Riders? And the Valve Dev 1 mentioned that we had a little bit of the Midnight Riders in the DLC where you would see the bus driving down the street and it's their tour van. This was in the passing. We had planned that they escaped the infection and maybe we're going to use them in a DLC at some point where you play as them. This never came to fruition, however. Well, anyways, that is the interview that Left 4 Dead 2 NF had with the Valve devs over Dark Carnival's development. It does answer the questions of what was with these missing assets that were left over in the game. And yes, NF even mentioned that there was a lot of models that never got used in the game as well. Shoutouts to NF for showing the material for not only that type of stuff, even asking these really cool questions. And also let me know if you guys want to see a breakdown of me breaking down my campaign Whispers of Winter. I thought about doing this video for a really long time, and a lot of people have asked me to kind of talk about it too. So I talk about something that I've actually created and even the whole game plan behind it, and I know a lot of people have been asking for that type of stuff. And yes, there is one more campaign coming that I've spent 3 years to create, so I actually can't wait to show that off as well. And that campaign is nearing the end of development. Yeah, I know, it's 3 years, what the fuck? Crazy, right? I know. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe. There's a Discord down below if you guys want to support the channel. Channel memberships down below. Take care. Peace.